Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kiran Bendigeri from Grafosyss IAS. In this video, let's have a look at 7th Standard Science 12th chapter, that is reproduction in plants. Modes of reproduction. Most plants have roots, stems and leaves. These are called the vegetative parts of a plant. After a certain period of growth, most plants bear flowers. You may have seen the mango trees flowering in spring. It is these flowers that give rise to juicy mango fruit we enjoy in summer. We eat the fruits and usually discard the seeds. Seeds germinate and form new plants. The flowers perform the function of reproduction in plants. Flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. A flower may have either the male part or the female part or both male and female parts. There are several ways by which plants produce their offspring. These are categorized into two types: asexual and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, plants can give rise to new plants without seeds, whereas in sexual reproduction, new plants are obtained from seeds. So these are the things you have to remember. Most plants have roots, stems and leaves, right? And these three are vegetative parts: roots, stems and leaves. So after some period they bear flowers, almost all plants. And we have seen that mango tree is flowering in the spring, and we eat fruits and discard the seeds. Not only mango, it may be pomegranate, it may be apple, it may be guava or anything, right? These seeds germinate and form new plants, and the flowers in the plants perform the function of reproduction. So these are the main things which perform this job. So flowers are reproductive part. Flower may either have male part or female part, or both male and female parts. So please compare these things with animals. So how are animals and how the plants are, right? And again there are different ways by which plants produce their offspring, right? One is asexual and another is sexual. Asexual means which give rise to new plants without seeds. Asexual without seeds. Sexual with seeds. Asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, new plants are obtained without production of seeds or spores. So you might have seen that we will take stem of some plant and we will just insert into soil for few days, and it starts to grow. So these are asexual, without seeds. Vegetative propagation. One more example is banyan tree, in which there will be no seeds. The branches, when we immerse that branches into soil, it starts to grow. Vegetative propagation. It is a type of asexual reproduction in which new plants are produced from roots, stems, leaves and buds. Since reproduction is through the vegetative parts of the plant, it is known as vegetative propagation. We saw what are vegetative parts. Those are roots, stems and leaves, right? So here vegetative propagation. New plants are produced from roots, stems, leaves and buds. Cut a branch of rose or champa with a node. This piece of branch is termed a cutting. Bury the cutting in the soil. A node is a part of stem or branch at which a leaf arises. So this is the example which I just explained. So rose plants can be grown like this. Water the cutting every day and observe its growth. Observe and record the number of days taken for roots to come out and new leaves to arise. You must have seen flower buds developing into flowers. Apart from flower buds, there are buds in the axil. Axil means the point of attachment of the leaf at the node, right, of leaves which develop into shoots. These buds are called vegetative buds. A bud consists of a short stem around which immature overlapping leaves are folded. The vegetative buds can also give rise to new plants. Right, so from flower buds, in short, there are buds in the axil. Axil, it is the point of attachment of the leaf at the node. So let's Google it. Axil plant leaf. Right, so here it is given. It is just below the leaf, right? So this is the axil. These buds are called vegetative buds. Bryophyllum, sprout leaf plant, has buds in the margins of leaves. If a leaf of this plant falls on a moist soil, each bud can give rise to a new plant. Right? So it has buds in the margins of the leaves. Right? Margins. So it at the end of the leaf. Right? Here. If it falls on the ground, new plants grows. The roots of some plants can also give rise to new plants. Sweet potato and dahlia are examples. Plants such as cacti produce new plants when their parts get detached from the main plant body. Each detached part can grow into a new plant. So each detached part in cactus and all can grow into new plant. Plants produced by vegetative propagation take less time to grow and bear flowers and fruits earlier than those produced from seeds. The new plants are exact copies of the parent plant as they are produced from a single parent. Right. So this is this is the asexual reproduction, in which vegetative parts are used to grow new plants. Plants produce seeds as a result of sexual reproduction. Right? Budding. You have already learnt about the tiny organisms like yeast can be seen only under a microscope. These grow and small bulb-like projection coming out from the yeast cell is called a bud. So small bulb-like projection which is coming out from the yeast cell is called bud. Remember this. The bud gradually grows and gets detached from the parent cell and forms a new yeast cell. So this is how new yeast is formed. The new yeast cell grows, matures and produces more yeast cells. Sometimes another bud arises from the bud, forming a chain of buds. If this process continues, a large number of yeast cells are produced in a short time. So this is how yeast are multiplied. Fragmentation. You might have seen slimy green patches in ponds or in other stagnant water bodies. These are the algae. So we have read about algae. Algae are used in producing medicines and all. Algae are used as food supplements also. When water and nutrients are available, algae grow and multiply rapidly by fragmentation. An alga breaks up into two or more fragments. These fragments or pieces grow into new individuals. This process continues and they cover a large area in a short period of time. So again, algae is same like yeast. The spores are asexual reproductive bodies. Each spore is covered by a hard protective coat to withstand unfavorable conditions such as high temperature and low humidity. So they can survive for a long time. Under favorable conditions, a spore germinates and develops into a new individual. Plants such as moss and ferns are reproduced by means of spores. So this is again same like yeast and algae, right? So this is asexual, and next we are going to look at sexual reproduction. You know that flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. The stamens are the male reproductive part and the pistil is the female reproductive part. So remember, stamen, this is male reproductive part and pistil is female reproductive part. The flowers which contain either only the pistil or only the stamens are called unisexual flowers. So some flowers contain only stamens, some flower contains only pistil, those are called unisexual flowers. The flowers which contain both stamens and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Corn, papaya, cucumber produce unisexual flowers, whereas mustard, rose, petunia have bisexual flowers. So remember what are unisexual and what are bisexual. Both the male and the female unisexual flowers may be present in the same plant or in different plants. Another contains pollen grains which produce male gametes. A pistil consists of stigma, style and ovary. Right, a pistil, it consists of stigma, style and ovary. The ovary contains one or more ovules. So within pistil, stigma, style and ovary, and ovary contains ovules. The female gamete or the egg is formed in an ovule. So remember this. In sexual reproduction, a male and a female gamete fuse to form a zygote. So in sexual reproduction, both gamete fuse to form a zygote. So I hope you understood till now, up to here. Pollination. Generally, pollen grains have a tough protective coat which prevents them from drying up. So pollen grains, whatever are there, they are covered by protective coat which is tough. Since pollen grains are light and they can be carried away by wind or water, insects visit flowers and carry away pollen on their bodies. Some of the pollen lands on the stigma of a flower of the same kind. So you might have seen the pollen grains on bees or some insects which sit on flowers and all, right? The transfer of pollen from the another to the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. So the transfer of pollen from anther to the stigma, anther to stigma, this is called pollination. Pollen from anther to stigma, this is pollination. If the pollen lands on the stigma of the same flower, it is called self-pollination. When the pollen of a flower lands on the stigma of another flower of the same plant or that of a different plant of the same kind, it is called cross-pollination. So pollen lands on stigma of the same flower, so it is self-pollination. Other than that, it is cross-pollination. Fertilization. The cell which results after the fusion of the gametes is called a zygote. The fusion of the gametes, zygote. The process of fusion of male and female gametes to form a zygote is called fertilization. Fusion of the gamete, the cell which results after the fusion of the gametes, it is called zygote. The cell that is called zygote, right? So the process of fusion of male and female gametes, that is called fertilization. This is the process. The zygote develops into an embryo. Fruits and seed formation. After fertilization, the ovary grows into a fruit and other parts of the flower fall off. So these gametes, the process happens and the ovary grows into a fruit, right? And after the fruit is grown, the other parts of the flower which is there, that will fall off. The fruit is the ripened ovary. So try to visualize all these things. First there will be a flower and there will be gametes, and these fuse, and the cell which we get is zygote, and the process is called fertilization. Later after fertilization, the ovary grows into fruit and the other parts of the flower will fall off. The seeds develop from the ovules. The seed contain an embryo enclosed in a protective seed coat. Some fruits are fleshy and juicy, such as mango, apple and orange. Some fruits are hard like almonds and walnuts. So these seeds are developed from the ovules. And seed contains an embryo that is enclosed in a protective seed coat. Some fruits are juicy, fleshy and all. Those are mango, apple, orange, and some are hard, that is almonds and walnuts. Seed dispersal. In nature, some kind of plants grow at different places. This happens because seeds are dispersed to different places. Sometimes after a walk through a forest or a field or a park, you may have found seeds or fruits sticking to your clothes. Right. If we walk through the forest, we can observe that seeds stick to our shoes or clothes. There would be severe competition for sunlight, water, minerals and space. As a result, the seeds would not grow into healthy plants. Plants benefit by seed dispersal. It prevents competition between the plant and its own seedlings for sunlight, water and minerals. It also enables the plants to invade new habitats for wider distribution. So plants they benefit by seed dispersal by animals or birds, etc. And it prevents the competition between the plants. There will be always competition for sunlight, water and minerals in the forest for animals and also plants. Seeds and fruits of plants are carried away by wind, water and animals. So these are the things which transport the seeds from one place to another place. Winged seeds such as those of drumstick and maple, light seeds of grasses or hairy seeds of ack and hairy fruit of sunflower get blown off with the wind to far away places. So we have seen some seeds which are flying in the air, not exactly flying, those are floating due to the wind, right? So those are light seeds of grasses, hairy seeds of ack and hairy fruit of sunflower. Some seeds are dispersed by water. These fruits are seeds usually develop floating ability in the form of spongy or fibrous outer coat as in coconut. So these are the seeds which float on the water. Those are in the form of spongy or fibrous outer coat, right? Some seeds are dispersed by animals, especially spiny seeds with hooks which get attached to the bodies of animals and are carried to distant places. Examples are xanthium and urena. So what is xanthium? So these are the xanthium, right? These are the xanthium and urena. Some seeds are dispersed where the when the fruits burst with sudden jerks. The seeds are scattered far from the parent plant. This happens in the case of castor and balsam. So you might have heard a sudden sound from the plants. Those are from castor plants and balsam plants, in which the fruits burst and seeds are dispersed. The key words which we read in this chapter are asexual reproduction, budding, embryo, fertilization, fragmentation, gametes, hypha, ovule, pollen, grain, pollen tube, pollination, seed dispersal, sexual reproduction, spore, sporangium, vegetative propagation, zygote. What you have learned. So the points: all organisms multiply or reproduce their own kind. In plants there are two modes of reproduction, asexual and sexual. There are several methods of asexual reproduction such as fragmentation, budding, spore formation and vegetative propagation, right? Asexual, these are fragmentation which we read, yeast and all, budding, spore formation in which leaves, right? Vegetative propagation, the different parts of the plants produce their own plants. Sexual reproduction involves the fusion of male and female gametes. In vegetative propagation, new plants are produced from different vegetative parts such as leaves, stems and roots. So remember, vegetative parts, leaves, stems and roots. Flower is the reproductive part of a plant. A flower may be unisexual with either the male or the female reproductive parts. A bisexual flower has both the male and the female reproductive parts. The male gametes are found inside the pollen grains and female gametes are found in the ovule. Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from the another of one flower to the stigma of the same or another flower. So same flower, self-pollination, other flowers, cross-pollination. Pollination is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. In self-pollination, pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. In cross-pollination, pollen grains are transferred from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same kind. Pollination takes place in plants with the help of wind, water and insects. The fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. Fertilized egg is called zygote. Zygote develops into an embryo. Fruit is the mature ovary, whereas ovule develops into a seed, which contains the developing embryo. Seed dispersal is aided by wind, water and animals. Seed dispersal helps the plants to prevent overcrowding, avoid competition for sunlight, water and minerals, and invade new habitats. So this is the end of the chapter. Thank you.